the News Channel 5 Network, this is MorningLine.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on MorningLine. I am Nick Burriss. It is a Monday. I hope you had a good weekend. And a good way to start your week, if you're not on your way out to work, is just to sit back and join in the conversation this morning. It's going to be hot out there today. Stick around, call in, voice your opinion as we're talking about media and politics. Not just that alone, but also just media perception, the concept of fake news, this thing that's been bandied around for quite some time now, both on the national level and locally here as well. And we've got a great source with us this morning to talk about it. He's a professor at MTSU, journalism, has been there for years, a friend of this program, has been coming on for a long time. It's really good to see you, Larry. Larry Burriss, nice to have you on.
Good to be here again. Enjoyed it.
Always a pleasure. And I'll tell you what, the biz continues to evolve. And I was talking to him just before the show started about what are you teaching? I mean, I assume some of this whole media politics and fake media is a topic in your classes, isn't it?
Continually. Students are split both directions, and there's a few down the middle, but students get very passionate, which they should. It's exciting.
What's great.
It's exciting.
What's great. But these are all journalism students,
yes.
Ones who maybe want to go out and be in the field. And do they not, whether it's partisan or not, once you get past it, because I think we would all agree, our opinions when we do straight news reporting should not have anything to do with it. We need to be as fair as possible all the time. But then there are fake news and slants. I mean, what do these kids think about that?
What we're trying to teach is accuracy and balance. You know, get both sides. If there's a story out there, then you talk to this person, you talk to the other person, you gather the information, you put it together, distill it, and present it to an audience. But now, the way things are going in Washington, and it seems across the country, things are very much more split, and it's getting hard to tell where the truth is. Both sides, at the highest levels, both sides are lying to us. Both sides are spinning the information, taking this fact and making this little nuance with it and that little nuance. I think you need to back off of that a lot and say, okay, here are the facts. There may be different ways of interpreting those facts, but we're not going to necessarily spin them in one direction or another.
I want to know, you out there, and obviously you're watching MorningLine this morning, which is great, but I mean, where do you get your news from? What is it that you trust? How do you go about getting that news? And that's the trick right now. I mean, all right, you've got, stories that are out there sometimes that are negative, and I get the sense almost, whether you're liberal or conservative, if a story comes out for some people that they don't like because it's negative, it may be true, but because it's negative, they'll call it fake news. And I have a real problem with that. I mean, I see stories that I don't like, or maybe going after a candidate or a politician that I like, and they'll come out and it'll be a negative story and I don't like it. But I don't say, oh, well, that's got to be fake. I mean, these days, you can report the facts, and if people don't like it, they'll just call it fake. That's what bothers me.
That's a major change that's going on over the last 5-10 years or so, that if you don't like it, it's wrong. And that in itself is wrong. We can have debate and argument, and certainly there are nuances here. Both sides can in fact be right, depending on how they're looking at a particular set of facts. Absolutely.
Well, and beyond, okay, you talk about also journalists, and maybe you can explain to me what you would describe their role, at least in dealing with politicians, be it President Trump, President Obama, or politicians all the way down. I mean, we hear from people sometimes, well, leave the president alone. Stop asking him these types of questions and badgering. And I'm like, what the heck's wrong with you? We're not out there to badger him because of the sake of badgering, but they're there to be asked hard questions so we can get to the heart of the matter. What is our role? Because some people think, well, we're just there to badger and upset people for no reason at all.
The role, philosophically, of you, the media, reporters, is to protect democracy.
Right.
And we do that by questioning those in authority. And sometimes the questions get difficult, and part of the problem is that the current administration does not know how to deal with the media. As they should. So if the media have a question, if a reporter has a question, we need to answer the question and not evade it. And we're seeing more and more evasion and nuancing certain words. I heard a story recently about whether or not the president had lied over whatever the fact was. And the reporter, unfortunately, was nuancing the word lie and saying, well, he didn't do it deliberately, so it wasn't a lie. Well, did he do it? How do we know that he did it deliberately or not?
Yeah, you're reading someone's mind. Yeah.
You're exactly right. We can't read people's minds. So, and we're also seeing more and more of you put out a statement, and then I'm going to spin your statement in a certain way so I can respond to it and show how you were wrong. And both sides are doing that. I do a lot of public speaking to civic groups, and had an instance fairly recently where one person said, well, you know that Fox News is slanted because I watch CNN. And I went to another meeting a couple weeks later, and I said, well, you understand that CNN is slanted because Fox News told me they were slanted. Both sides can't be slanted. I mean, it's either one or the other, but it's the interpretation. It's how people are spinning their own version of what reporters are saying. And the fact that we're asking a question doesn't make us anti-administration. Those questions need to be asked.
Yeah, and you have to separate. The viewers get confused sometimes between who is a news reporter that should be impartial in handling things. I mean, you think about Fox News, and they'll have maybe a program like Sean Hannity. Now, there is no disputing the fact that Sean Hannity has a slant and is conservative, but I almost view him more as a commentator or an editorial, and which is perfectly fine if he chooses to be that way. On the other hand, you could grab someone on the liberal side, Keith Olbermann, someone like that. All right, Keith Olbermann's very liberal on the other side. He's got his slant there. That's much different than what I would think would be the reporters, say, on the evening news, or certainly the reporters when we go on tonight at 6 o'clock on News Channel 5. I don't want to have any slant like Olbermann or Hannity to anything I do. Now, I may voice an opinion here on this program once in a while.
It's a talk show. It's a talk program.
But it's a talk show, that's it. But in my reporting, my opinion shouldn't have a bearing. I think people get confused with that. They hear Sean Hannity or Olbermann say something and they take it as gospel. And it's their opinion, and it is slanted.
Part of what's happened is media, television in particular, has started relying on what they call reporters. We're going to take a video from somebody who has no training, has no background, and we're going to put it on the evening news, and it looks like news, and it may not be. Or we start a blog, and that blog could be run by a 6-year-old for all we know, but it's going to look like news, and people are going to say, well, that's news, so what you do at 6 o'clock and 10 o'clock, that's news, or it's commentary. They can't tell the difference anymore, because I think we, the media, have not done a good job of separating those.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what? The media certainly is far from perfect. Let's take a call from Mike before we go to the break. Mike, good morning.
Good morning, Nick. How are you this morning?
Good. What's on your mind, Mike?
Well, one thing, I try to use several sources of news to try to form an opinion on something that's kind of difficult, like you're saying. I mean, there's so many different variations on where they seem to lean. One thing that I have my degrees in radio and TV broadcast, and I'm more into the engineering part of it, but I did take some journalism courses, and I remember the professor starting out our classes saying that the keynote in journalism is to stay impartial and unbiased. And it just seems like to me now the media is not that way anymore. I mean, there's this extreme one way or extreme the other way. Another thing I've been noticing is that media factions are now starting to openly attack each other. You know, CNN attacks Wall Street, or, you know, the Washington Post attacks Fox. And I think it's getting really colluded there, and people don't know where to go.
Yeah. I agree. That's the problem. There's so many outlets now. That's part of it. And he's right. It's more divisive than ever before, and media going after each other sometimes. I mean, where do you find just pure impartial reporting? I think of maybe the NewsHour on PBS, but some might even say that because it's like, well, who are their experts they're bringing on? You need to be fair on the experts you're bringing on. But he's right, isn't he? I mean, it's even getting ugly between media organizations.
We used to all be the media, and now you're absolutely right. It's split, and the media are taking sides, are becoming factionalized, which just makes the problem even worse.
Yeah,
and
right.
It's difficult to tell now where's the news and where's the commentary, and the audience having a hard time telling the difference, which makes the problem even worse as well.
Well, the option then is exactly what Mike did, which is go to as many sources as you can. But the question then too is, you know, how do you know if something is legit? I think we can all tell if someone's voicing an opinion or something. It's more difficult sometimes when they put a fact out there, but maybe they're only putting a portion of it out, or they're not telling both sides.
Given all that's going on, the truth is somewhere in the middle. What I tell students in public groups is, if the position is extreme, it's probably wrong. or it's probably slanted, that the truth is somewhere towards the middle, because both sides are spinning news and information and facts to present their own point of view. I've got to be a winner and you've got to be a loser. My side is right, your side is wrong, and I've got to do whatever I can to prove that. And that's not good for the democracy, because it's hard to find that truth in the middle.
Yeah, I agree. And it's tough. Finding the truth, especially when you fake news. And again, like I said, just because you don't like a story, be it a politician, and Donald Trump, a lot of stories he doesn't like, just because he doesn't like it doesn't mean it's not true. Now, there may be some untruths that get reported. There's millions of stories reported on the president every single day. But that's what bothers me, is that on either side or whoever it is, if you don't like the story, it's just real easy for you to discount it. And that's wrong. We'll take a break. When we come back, if you're on hold, stay there. We'll get to more of your calls. The number 737-7587. Where do you go to get your news? You know, give me your take, the difference maybe between local and national news. Opinions, we'd love to hear from you. Professor Burriss is with us. We'll be back right after this.